Welcome to this week's edition of the Michigan Bros Grow Show. This is episode number 20. Did we say 3?
22.
22. There we go. We'll get it wrong every week. That's our consistency. Welcome to episode number 22. I'm Skilbo. He's Sequence. This is the panel. How's it going, everybody out there?
What's up, panel? What's up, chat? Here we are, another fine Sunday. I didn't schedule this one pre-show like I was supposed to, so we don't have a waiting chat for us, so that's a bummer. I apologize for that. Was in a quick run-up in the grow room trying to do things. My lights turn on right before the show starts, so I was getting shit done. But here we are. Let's run around the circle really quick and do introductions, shall we? Abolished, what's up?
Hey guys, Abolished here. Just getting Twitch all set up for us over there, because YouTube likes to be difficult when you're cross streaming. Having a pretty good week. We just went in and did some scoping in the flower tent, and it looks like we might have some early finishers that I'll talk about later on, in the show. What you, Missy?
Hello everyone. Glad I got to join you all tonight. I got to take some time off this week and celebrate my birthday and my son's birthday and stuff. So we've had a fun couple of days and sort of getting back and getting settled back down and ready for the week.
Yeah, Miss C had a vacation for her birthday, just something most of us never get to experience. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Red Setter, what's up, dude?
Hey guys, everybody, how's everyone doing tonight? I'm Red Setter Farm. You can find me mostly on Instagram and here on YouTube. Red Setter Farm on pretty much all channels. Just having a wonderful night here tonight. I'm smoking on some purple, very purple Girls Gone Wild, and just ready to get into some topics tonight. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, Red. All of Red's bud is very purple, despite what he says.
I swear there's green.
Old man, how you doing?
Good. Old man Hermit Hash. Sorry, I was a little late getting to the thing, so I'm like trying to twist up a doob real quick and put some hash in there and shit. So it's a little bit of a project always. But
tough job, man.
I know. First world problems, right?
And that's an acceptable reason to be like too.
I had a great week. A lot of incremental progress. It's always just little progress with me in the garden. So. I outpotted some stuff. I got some new clones rooted. Really happy blue cough ones. Super happy about that. Got a lot of work done. So Sunday night, happy to be here. Looking forward to the show.
Speaking of blue cough, we're waiting for Mr. Spartan growing.
We'll say that my blue cough that I got from him looks amazing.
I just outpotted mine into a 10-gallon. So
even better.
Yeah, that blue cough, it took over one of the easy swap pot beds. Like, I had to take out the Grand Champagne that was with it. It was just blowing it out. Crazy. I gave it its own bed.
I want to ask the chat what they feel about Sequence's new eye attire there.
Bad Bunny said I'm in incognito mode. I would argue that I'm in the exact opposite of incognito mode.
You are in cognito mode.
Yeah, I'm cognito mode right now. The neon glasses frames are pretty cognito. Eagle said he digs it. Eagle said he may or may not join us. He's dealing with internet troubles tonight and moving a bunch of stuff in his grow room, so I can understand that. Thank you for joining us in the chat, Eagle.
There's Spartan. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Spartan, we were just talking about how much we like your blue cough in our gardens.
Oh, cool.
And how much we missed you.
I'm glad you guys are liking it. It's doing well in everybody's garden.
I think so, yeah. Old man just said he transplanted his into a 10-gal.
Wow, nice.
Yeah,
I guess it's go time over there.
I got my clones into solos and things are good, man. I'm taking care of that motherfucker. Like my life depends on it. Because I feel like it might. You never know.
You never know.
It's good medicine. I got a lot of that hanging around right now. I'm getting ready to throw some in flower. I did a lot of that transplanting. I put Crescendo up into a 1-gal. I put abolished OG into my next run. That's going to be in the. Actually, I'm going to have a lot. I'm going to have the sour melon in there too for the next run. It's going to replace the sour snow that's in my autopot system that Dr. MJ Coco was shitting on not that long ago here. I was trying to defend in the last episode, the last chat.
Yeah, you'll have that occasionally. Thank you for joining us, Spartan. Appreciate you. We had a couple of notes and stuff we wanted to talk about, and since Abolished and Missy talked about their vacation, prior to their vacation, Abolished wanted to talk about the things you do to set up for a vacation, which I think is really important. Or anytime you're just not going to be at your grow when you need to be at your grow, what do you do in your setup? So for me, it's fairly easy because I'm in a cocoa setup that has to be watered every day. I can just turn on timers that are set to water every day, and I can get by being away for a couple of days using stuff like I just got a camera to put in my grow room. And so I'm gonna have my camera focused not only on my plants, but also, since I don't have a grow room monitor, I figure if I point my camera at like a temperature and humidity gauge, that'll give me kind of the best of both worlds in the meantime. So it's like a frugal approach to that. And then, yeah, as long as I don't lose power, that's the theory.
Does your cam have night vision capabilities on
Yeah,
it?
it does actually.
Does it have the little
yet,
red
but
light on it that when it does it? I don't know if that interferes with the grow or not.
that's a good point. I'll have to check on that too.
I honestly gonna say, I mean, and I sure Abolished. My brother here is gonna back me up on this, but that's one of the best things about organic growing, because you can teach somebody that you trust, hey, can you put some water on this, every other day or every 3 days, or I feel it's far easier to show somebody what you can do just maintenance wise, just to keep it alive as a organic grower than you can as a synthetic grower. Even though some synthetics, I mean, you can get some 1-part powders that are pretty simple, but you're still having them check, you're still going to want pH is still important, for example.
Well, one of the things that I would mention is that you can have multiple reservoirs. So let's use, for an example, like this 4x8 bed. I could set this up and I could have 4 different reservoirs that are set to 4 different timers that are all plugged into the exact same fucking surge protector, right? And I could have it programmed for each day of the week or whatever way I want to set this up, and it would allow me to be gone for a month. I mean, barring, some kind of weird catastrophe. So don't forget that you can have multiple reses and set them up this way.
And you can rig up ways that are not even requirement of power even. With Blue Mott drippers and gravity, you can get a lot done.
What's up, Kyle?
Yo,
Kyle, we're talking about what we do to prepare to go to vacation or prepare to go on vacation. You've got a giant garden. Do you ever go on vacation for several days? What do you do?
He's a baller, of course.
I know he goes on vacation.
yeah, I got peoples.
He's got people for that.
There you go.
Honestly, like automate shit as much as possible and keep hands off as much as possible. That's my theory anyway. So I don't work very hard in flower, that's for sure. Just got to time it out right, space it out right. But honestly, it's kind of funny you say that, because for the longest time, I would always tell like new growers, like, oh, it's so fun, it's so awesome. Usually get into it, you go hard at it. And I mean, this goes not just for new growers, but for even experienced ones like myself. You go hard at it. It's like a farmer. It's like you work all summer, all spring, all fall, and then wintertime you kind of get that chance to maybe sit back. Not too much, because you obviously have to start planning for next harvest and shit like that. But you get that little bit of a downtime where you can kind of take a vacation or drive your Ferrari off the farm and cruise down that dirt road. So
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting that you mentioned that flower is the easier time, which I bet a lot of people wouldn't think that if they're not like growers or big growers. But I definitely agree that in veg, you're doing a lot of your training, you're doing all your cloning and all your hands-on work. And in flower, you're kind of just watching shit.
honestly, like veg scares the shit out of me, man. I fucking hate veg, just because shit goes wrong, like that ruins harvest. Like I've
It's
lost.
make or break point for sure.
I'll be honest, like when I was I don't even know how many years ago now. Like back in the day, I was losing like a lot of clones. Like I would have these healthy ass clones, perfect fucking clones. I'd pull them out, put them in. At first, I was cocoa. Put them in cocoa, and they'd last for 2-3 days, maybe a little bit of growth, and then just wilt and die. Like just once the wilting process started, it was just like no matter what I would do, either like they would just wilt and die. I tried everything. I called reps. I've called Botanicare reps. I've called cocoa reps. I've called nutrient companies. I was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. And it was because I wasn't hardening off my clones.
Bingo. I just dealt with this last month, dude. I should have heard you say this last month, man.
Yeah. So come to find out, I literally probably, like, no joke, before I figured that out, and I'm not even going to exaggerate here, I probably had lost 1,000 clones over the course of, like, I don't even know, a year. You know, some would make it, some wouldn't. Some I would obviously harden off or just accidentally, you know. But now I actually spend the actual day, 2 days, you know, hardening them clones off once they have roots and are ready to go. I spend the time, and I have yet to really experience that type of loss as before. But I would literally, like, and one of the reasons why when I set one of my rooms up, I went to perpetual cycle is because I had like a healthy number of clones. And literally all but like one table, like, or I think it was like 2 tables, but like all but one little section died off. And it was because, I mean, those plants are just a little bit hardier. Maybe that strain, they rooted a little bit earlier and I, hardened them off or whatever the case may be. But long story short, they survived. And then I went to perpetual. But getting back to looping back around, I hate veg. It still scares the shit out of me. It's like I'm always amazed when I come and stuff still looks healthy as shit and green and beautiful. It's like, wow, something's going right. Nothing's going wrong this time. But yeah, vacations are a must. That's our thing on the topic I was gonna touch on. Yeah, vacations are a must. Like, yeah, you get a little burnt out, and that goes for everyone from new growers to old growers. You just go so hard at it. It's such a daily grind. Even though flower's not that heavy schedule of training and like you said, all the good stuff that comes with it, it's still stressful. In the case, like I had a freeze up on my AC the other day. I had just tonight, I had to go over to my one spot because I had a fucking double-ended ballast, whole fixture basically melt, the fucking bulb exploded, melted the fixture. Haven't yet tested my Helios. My dude said, as he was trying to put luckily I had an old fixture and a dimmable ballast laying around. He says that the top fucking outlet on the Helios now doesn't work. So I have yet to test that out. Luckily I'm only running, I think, 6 or 7 lights on that one. So I had an extra spot. But it's just little shit like that. Like I've dealt, like this month alone, like I've dealt with 2 or 3 power issues. Last time I went on vacation, I was like, usually I rush back. I'm always stressing during vacation. I rush back. So this time we went to Michigan City for the jet ski races and shit, and spent the extra little bit of half day there, and hanging around. And of course, I come back to my room 112 degrees. My whole freaking AC froze up. 2-inch thick of ice. So it's like no good time there. No good time to get away. No good time to vacation when you're growing, but that's where you start to delegate. And as with any big business, like you start small and it eventually grows into something bigger than you. And you have to delegate. That goes, like, look at Warren Buffett. He owns something like 90 companies or some shit. 90 companies. If you spend 1 hour a day on your companies, like there's not enough hours in the day. So you have to do the math there. You have to have strong people. So luckily I have a couple of strong team members that haven't fucked me as of yet.
And that's really the precious thing right there. You got somebody you can trust. I mean, that's going to be better than any monitor or anything. Because like you said, power could go out, or just things like what you're saying with your air conditioner freezing up. That's not things that people plan for. And having somebody there that can handle that shit is fucking powerful.
Right. Or even like them calling me, telling me the power's out, little shit like that. Like, yeah, absolutely. Having a good person oversight. And what's cool, and it's kind of funny because I told them, I'm like, like a couple people that have been working with me for a couple of years. I'm like, you guys probably grow weed better than half the fools out there. Like, it's very hands off in my one spot now because it's just like
they know the system. They've been running it. They know what to look for. Like you said, I trust them. So I still got to oversee them because I've been doing this a lot longer than I am on more of a higher level. But as far as troubleshooting, like, yeah, he walked in the room, seen a fucking bulb exploded, and right away I kind of pointed him in the right direction, and he was able to, get it back going, get the room back up to 100%.
I think this is time for the PSA to say that it is Michigan and it is going to become ice storm weather and all that good stuff. So power outages are coming. So maybe you want to ask Santa Claus for a backup generator this year if you've been good.
Yeah, last winter my my power went out, and I freaked out because I don't have a generator, and my room is separate from my house, so it gets real cold. You know what I mean? So I raced over to a buddy's house, borrowed his generator, set all this shit up, started that fucking thing up. It was really hard to do. It was like an old tanky one, you know what I mean? 1 hour after I got that goddamn thing going, the power came back on. And so I spent like 5 hours setting this whole thing up, and then I didn't even need it. So it'd be really nice to just have one on my own property, so I don't have to worry about that shit. But,
That same exact thing happened to me the last time I needed a generator. I spent half a day getting one, and as soon as I started, the power turned on.
Yeah, I have a big one. Probably 6-7 years ago now, when I was an inkster, I fucking got everyone over, started to trim, and then literally like an hour into trimming, we had one of the big storms, the power went out. So I ran up to Harbor Freight and Tools, bought one, and luckily, like since then I've probably used it a handful of times too. Like most recently, like when you guys seen when I posted about all that shit. I mean, it was only on, same thing. Like it was only on by the time I got back, it was only on for 30 minutes to an hour. But still though, I'd rather have that peace of mind. I mean, and they cost only a couple $100. I mean, mine's a small one, so I probably would only be able to run a couple lights and like a dehumidifier or something, just to keep them where they're supposed to be till I can hopefully make them pop final.
Yeah, keep them on cycle. We keep the heater on.
Yeah. I mean, coming with experience too, you kind of know what they can handle and what they can't handle too. You kind of, you don't stress as much. They can handle a day, 2 days of darkness if need be. I mean, I don't really recommend that, but a lot of times you kind of get away with little fuck ups. It's that constant, going in there with your flashlight day in and day out that fucking fucks them up. Little hiccups, little things that you can prepare utmost for. And like I think I said on my podcast too, it's like, there's no such thing as like these perfect growers that just time in and time out have these awesome perfect yields. You're still dealing with, human error, like power companies and weather and Mother Nature, of course, with storms and shit like that. So between the two, it's like you keep your fingers crossed and hope for the best. But at the end of the day, it's like, oh well, don't stress. Go on vacation.
Definitely like to go back to like what Spartan was saying. Like, if you guys are gonna have an active lifestyle and be a grower, and you're going on vacation a lot, look into hempy, wicking, SIP systems, because there's a lot more cushion room and leeway. Basically, like our only worries when we go on vacation is mechanical failures and whatnot, like what Cal's talking about with AC or electrical, whatever. As far as watering, nutrients, whatever, you can walk. If you're running like a wicking system, you can walk away like with mine or within the 2 frugal tents. Those are good for a good 2-3 weeks. I don't need to do anything to them if I fill them up all the way.
So I don't automate my veg, but propagation and mothers and stuff. So I don't automate them. And often we'll take off and maybe stay the night out at our production facility or do something like that, or maybe just have a night out or something. Now typically I'm watering every single day, and sometimes the moms, when they get big enough, they need to be watered every single day. So let's just say you're 24 hours, it's not even a vacation, but you're just gone, you're busy for a couple of days. Sometimes I found that in that room specifically, so like if you don't need to take clones or anything, or maybe you do need to take clones, take your clones and then trim back all your moms, maybe do a good pruning job, maybe even top off with a little bit of extra. And I'm in cocoa, so this is specifically for my situation in cocoa. Top off with a little bit of extra cocoa if you can, add a little bit more moisture layer, and then just water really well. And then if you can't water that next day, come back 2 days later, just make sure that you dial down your EC a little bit. That's what I do if I'm gone for like 48 hours or something. Everything else is automated otherwise. And same deal, watch out for pesky power outages and things like that. Failures.
And go over your checklist twice, guys, because I swear we went over it and we still forgot to throw ice inside of our aeroponic, because I like to do that when I go away for a long time, because that'll keep it cool and it'll slowly break down and keep the water level right if I'm going to be gone for like a week or so. And I forgot to throw it in there, and I came back and all my clones were dead this time.
Well, you have a chiller. Well,
Yeah,
he made a good point.
Yeah.
Red made a good point though. If you're trying to slow growth down, that's a good point. If you're trying to slow growth down, like right now, like my rooms, here, my mom room, I'll show you. My mom room is like way overdone. I actually thought I was supposed to be taking clone this week, but it's still next week. Look at this, way overgrown. Look at this.
Looks like mine.
Look at this one plant alone. Like,
Mine too.
just out of control. These are all up in the way. But if
Dude,
you
it's
want
like Christmas season.
if you want to slow shit down, you really just slow, like put a real colder temps. Colder temps slows growth. That's the point. Expert tip. And root bounding, if you root bound them a little bit to slow down.
Yeah, I hate to talk about it. We all hate to talk about it, but sometimes, be extra careful if you do have automated systems, just simply enough as hitting the wrong button. Like we've talked about accidentally triggering like a timer button, and then all of a sudden you mess up your light cycle. Or for my example, I accidentally shut off my entire irrigation system. I was just clocking through, making sure everything was set okay, and it wasn't set okay when I left, and I went away for 5-6 days and came back to pretty much a dead crop last year. So, be mindful when you're right before you're leaving, double check, triple check all of your systems, if you have to.
Put a camera facing either in your reservoir so your reservoir level is going down, or put it next to like a sprayer or something on your plants, or pointing into your flood and drain system so that you can kind of go back and see that your shit's getting watered at a tiny interval.
Actually, it's a good point. Now that I have cameras, what I'm gonna do to make sure that I know that I don't know if my pump's working in this scenario, but I'll know that my timer's going on or off, is I'm just gonna split my timer and then have one end connected to like a light bulb sitting on my wall. Like just hook up just fashion a simple light bulb on the wall. So when my timer goes, and this is of course during daylight hours, my timer goes off, that light bulb is gonna, I'm gonna know that there's electricity going to my pump. And then, if my pump fails, I know it's that's a different story. But yeah, so I was thinking that might be my way of being able to monitor from video surveillance whether or not my timers are working.
That's pretty clever. But yeah, definitely. I've actually every time I gotta turn around and go check to make sure that my timer's in the correct position on maybe not my lights, because I don't fuck with my lights all the time, but my pumps and shit. Definitely gotta make sure. Because and then obviously that's why I monitor too. That first day, I really make sure that they went off, because sometimes even still I forget. But
It's scary, man. That first couple days, if you really don't know, and you come back and you're going to walk in and you're opening that door and you're just hoping for everything to be okay, and when they're staring at you and they're fine, it's a wonderful feeling,
That cycle timer?
Yeah, it's a repeat cycle timer, man. These are actually pretty fucking cool, and it can come in handy in these things. They have a light sensor on them, so you can make them so they only work during the light cycle or only during the off cycle, or you can set it so it works during any one. And instead of being like a weird, hard programmable, all this has is some knobs on the front. That's it, just some knobs. And so you can set it for, the lowest is like 5 seconds, and the length time you can do it's 30 minutes. And the on and the off can be off for up to 60 minutes or off for 5 seconds. Anything in between.
Some
Not that much money.
they have different ones too. Some go down to 1 second. Some go, just depends on what you need. But they have various ones of them.
Yeah. But it's a piece of tech that if you're, worrying about the heat of your aeroponic cloner, you can hook one of these things up, man, and you won't have to worry about the pump heating things up like that for you.
My aero cloners, which I don't use anymore because I fucking hate them. But I always ran chillers to them, and I think the new Easy cloners, they actually have like the tower setups that have the chillers. But yeah, chillers are a must in those damn things. I don't care what anybody says. You need them.
I'm right with you, Kyle. Fuck them cloners.
Yeah,
I
they're
agree.
stupid.
I agree. I'll die on that hill.
Like, they always clog. You always got to clean them. There's too much maintenance.
That's because you guys keep insisting on using the ones that have the fucking sprayer heads, man.
Yeah, just use
It's
the air
mechanical.
pump.
Just
Air
use
pumps
the
are
air
the
pump.
best.
Look at a Venturi pump and look at an Oxyclone.
Oxycloners,
It's a completely different technology. It's like doing deep water culture. You don't have to worry about anything getting clogged on those. That's why that shit gets such a bad rep. Everybody thinks that all aeroponic cloners are the same, and they're really not.
I know, but I can get like 2 full clone trays in the same space with no power other than enough to power the damn light. I can get a ton more clones than I can in an aeroponic clone. It always seems they struggle when you get them out of there. That first day you put them into your medium, it always seems that like they have to like get established or whatever.
But the roots that I can grow in the length of time that I have them in the cloner versus the time that you have them in the dome, I can crush you for length of roots and amount. So even though it may struggle a little bit, I can also cut way bigger arms and shit and clone that way because I don't have to worry about a clone dome either.
The only downside is if something goes wrong, you lose all of your clones at one time.
And also when you're thinking like pathogens and shit like that, that's the quickest way for them to spread.
But I would think the quickest way for them to spread would be underneath the dome.
Why they're not touching each other. Whereas you got the water that there's getting sprayed, every one of them and drips right back down.
As being a cloner, I can tell you I get a lot of requests from people telling me that they need clones because their pumps went out on their cloners.
So the oxycloners, you can have it so that the bottom of the stem is actually sitting about a quarter of an inch into the water.
In the water.
And if your power does go out, that's okay because they're still being saturated and hydrated. They're sitting in basically water. Now the aeration and all of that's going on. Room temperature. If your room temperature is in the 80s, your water temperature is going to be in the 80s. So that's something you kind of got to watch out for. But I also use a dome and a cloner. What is nice about running the like water cloning or aero cloning, oxycloning is that you don't have to harden off. So if you are having an issue hardening off, maybe you just want to try one of those just for shits and giggles. But I mean, I agree. It's 6 1, half dozen the other, honestly, because I clone both ways. So
I clone 3 ways. I use the root rod plugs, and
I only have one oxycloner. Sometimes I need to take, sometimes that thing's only holding so much, and I'm vegging in it. Sometimes you got to veg in the damn thing. So,
I mean, here's the thing. Like again, like it all works for me personally. It just didn't work for my setup.
For sure, yeah.
But for everyone else, like I don't hate on any way really. If it works for you, go about it. I've rooted in like a straight cup of water. I've taken like just straight plain tap water, took some cuts, put it in there, boom, they root. I rooted.
I always thought of that as the Mr. Tight method, where he just cuts it and throws it in a water bottle, and sticks it in the windowsill.
Yeah, my first time ever cloning, actually, I was outside. I took. This is ghetto as shit, but I took a clone, put it like in a dirt in my like tomato garden, and it rooted. It took like all year to root, but it didn't die. It actually rooted. I don't know how. So moist soil and whatever, Turned out to be a fucking male. It was like real early on in my growing career. I misdiagnosed or missed whatever it was, sexed it. So I cloned a bunch of males. So that was harder to me. Didn't have a very good harvest day out there. But the first time I ever threw, I had like a stand, like a fish tank stand. So I had 4 metal legs. I wrapped it in saran wrap, put it in my garage, and put like the clones in some soil. and like put them in there. Like it worked. There's tons of different ways to do things.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that like Medicropper will just mix up a bunch of cocoa and pack the shit out of it, and then just cut clones, stick them in there. I was like, holy cow!
Yeah, they'll clone right in dirt,
and they will.
Yep.
So it's like
my
every way
outdoor-
does work.
In my outdoor this year, I did a couple cutting jams. You know what I mean? Where I was like, it was pretty early on, and I just cut some branches and jammed them into the ground. And I'm telling you, I probably did 6 of them, and I stepped all over them. And I mean, they were by my plants and shit, but I wasn't really paying attention to them. But 2 of them made it all the way to the end of the year. You know, they didn't really grow much, but they lived. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I love those stories, man, because I'm in the same boat. I had a roommate that was like, "Hey, man, I'm a teacher. That plant's like 4 feet tall. You're gonna get me in trouble." Blah blah blah. This is maybe just past 2008, maybe 2009, something like that. So I went out there and I made that 4 foot tall plant a 2 foot tall plant, and I shoved half that plant back into the ground and got 2 foot tall plants out of it, and it was pretty cool.
About a hard top, right?
It
Yeah,
was
that's a hard top.
and yeah, it was like mid-June, late June, early July, something like that, just before it started flowering.
So the one that was rooted really well, since it was rooted well enough to support a 4 foot plant, did that really take off?
They both got stolen. Everything got stolen. So
Sweet.
yeah, the good old days.
Sweet.
Everything got ripped.
I used to appreciate though. It was like I think that's called the horseshoe theory or something, where you take one and you bend it like down into the dirt, half it into the dirt, so it pokes back up, and then it'll eventually create roots down there. Anything you put underground will create roots, or in darkness and humidity will create roots, or any of the root. That's why any of the roots that pop up can kind of become branches. They create green, start becoming green and hard, woody. But yeah, I think it's called the horseshoe theory. Yeah, where you do that. Or the other way to do it is you take a branch through a big plant and you just plant it underground and become another root system to the plant. I think never done that really.
Or the air layering stuff that the Herbs Now, whatever that, the last interview you guys just did, Herbs Here Now. He's talking about the air layering where they just wrapped soil around the branch until roots rooted into it, and then took that cutting.
Yeah, that's how they clone a lot of hardwoods.
Yeah, that's another reason I'm fascinated with bonsai, because they clone that way. They can clone
Air layering.
hardwoods that way, oaks and things. Yeah.
I really want to get a mini sequoia. That's been my goal, but I just don't have a steady greenhouse or spot to do it. But once I do, I'm getting a little mini sequoia, man. It'd be like this big little fucking redwood.
It's like an oxymoron.
I know, right?
A mini sequoia.
Now cut it down and chop it into lumber, little teeny boards. Make a little house.
I like that little saw you're working with there. The Dremel tool way.
I just got a new chainsaw the other day. I fucking love it. Been using it all the time.
And down the neighbor shit.
The Farm Boss 271 by Steel. Good job, Steel.
Cutting down the neighbor's shit, he says.
I have been. They get pissed at me. One dude's like wanting me to cut some shit down. He's like, it's leaning on my property. The other dude's like, why are you cutting that down? Like freaking out at me. I'm like, whoa, dude. Sorry, it hasn't been cut down in 30 fucking years. That's why this shit's overgrown.
If I don't cut it down, it's gonna fall down on my fucking house, bro.
Well, DTE, check this out. Fucking clown ass DTE, okay, had a service planner out multiple times at this fucking site to go over the plan. That's hence service planner. Okay, met with my electricians. They run over everything back and forth. They come to hook my shit up like after we're not there late at night. They run it the same fucking way. Didn't do what they said they were gonna do the whole time, and it's like W'd on a tree, like from the pole to the fucking pole to my house. Well, actually, there's 2 poles. There's fucking a W because it's like on a tree. It's like the line is on a fucking tree. And it's on his property. So there's nothing I could technically do about it. So DT came, hooked me up a new line on a fucking tree, like power line on the tree.
Dude, the
Like
border
the
water
Laurel and
line
Hardy
came and
shit.
knocked on my door like 3 weeks ago. And they were like, we're here to put a new meter in. And I was like,
Oh
I
yeah.
really get shit about this. And like, I got to go to work in a minute. And like, I don't
They chase
know
you
you,
down.
strange man, at my house on a Saturday morning. So I was like, can I
They'll chase
pass
you down.
right now? Well, so he like takes a picture of the outside of my house and he was like, yeah, you don't even have to get it. And I was like, I heard the new meters are like not accurate. And he's like, well, they're more accurate, but that means they might charge you way more. So I was like, can I like not get it at all? And he was like, yeah, you don't have to. And then like dipped out eventually, but it was like super weird how they were like, and he pulled out his phone and was like, I know exactly what in your basement where the meter is. Like, I can just go down there right now. I was like, no, bro, you're not coming in my house right now. Like, but it was weird too, how he was like, you don't have to get it, but it's definitely going to cost you more. And he was like, if you're doing stuff down there, like in my basement, he's like, if that's why you don't want me down there. It was like a super weird.
Yeah,
The sketch factor was high with that one.
Absolutely.
I did the same thing though. I put it off and put it off and put it off, and then they just did it probably like this summer, end of the summer, fall, probably fallish. They dug a big ass hole right in front of my yard and came in my basement, took the gas meter out in that clone room right there, and put it on the outside. But I thought the same thing. I was like, nah, fuck you.
Well, it was just weird. Like, it was seriously like 10 a.m. on a Saturday. And like, he was just like, yeah, I'll just come inside right now. And I was like, wait, you've been at my house for like 0.2 seconds, you know what I mean? And then he was like taking pictures of the outside. So eventually, like, I was kind of a bitch. And he's like, doesn't matter to me. I get paid by the hour. And I was like, okay, walk slow to the next house then. Cause like, I can't imagine anybody's gonna like sign up to have you come in their house, you fucking asshole.
Well, that's a good point though for everyone listening too, is like there's a lot of scammers going around. I mean, I don't know if this guy was or wasn't from BP, but like it's a good time of the year to talk about that because Michigan just made it a felony. Well, I think it's signed into law, I think Monday, tomorrow, but if you steal a package from a porch, it's a felony now. But people, a lot of people dress up as like, let's say like a DP worker and, being a woman will target you, or even in general, like old people, or even me, like coming at anybody. I mean, I'm not trying to single anybody out here, I guess, but just be very, very on your toes. People want to come in your house this time of year, especially around the Christmas season. But you don't have to let them in. No one ever has to come in your house, obviously, unless they have like a warrant again.
And that's what like I am like a single chick. I was home alone and the dude was super weird and how he was just like, I'm not gonna come in.
Well,
like,
you had all the right. I mean,
you're not gonna invite yourself into my house and shit. Like I'm here alone. I had to leave soon anyway. It was just really weird how like.
Here's another thing. Like if someone knocks on your door, you never have to open the door. You don't, even if it's a cop, like you don't have to open the door for the police. They have to have a warrant to come in your house. You don't have to let them in. You don't have to open the door. Nothing. Keep the door closed. So that goes with anybody: UPS men, BT workers, consumer energy workers. If you feel uneasy about it, call the police. If you feel uneasy about it, it'll be safe and sorry here. But I don't know if I should say certain things, but common sense type issues. But yeah, obviously, don't open your door.
Well, so to go around in Michigan, you have to have what's called a solicitor's permit. So like if you ask people like, hey, do you have a solicitor's permit? And they don't, or they're not legit, they'll usually dip pretty quick. But like, yeah, it was just like a weird thing. And then it's weird too that like it will definitely make your energy bill go up. You know what I mean? And I think that's like.
Sometimes they're idiots, though. I'll be honest. Like DT the other day when I had that little burnout, like he was telling me, "Oh, we're gonna have to shut your power off. You're gonna have to get a service planner out there." Basically, like everything I'm doing at the other spot. And I'm like, that's why I kind of freaked out. So then I'm thinking, well, this could be weeks. Like my power could be off for weeks. And I'm like a couple days into a week or two into fucking the new cycle here, like 4 hours. So I was freaking out. And then come to find out, like once his jackassness left, it was like not the case at all. So. People, again, yeah, don't trust anybody.
Yeah, I had my wife open the door once.
Yeah, don't trust your wife, exactly.
Right. And there was a guy who wanted to change the water meter. And she just dodged him, basically, and said, no, not right now, come back. And then, we just keep dodging the dude. And now it's been like 6 months, and apparently it's not a problem anymore because they stopped coming over.
Right. Just tell them that you're not the homeowner. You're just like the tenant, or the tenant's son or something.
Homeowner lives in Florida. You can't get a hold of him. I don't know. I just pay rent.
Right.
No, I just told him you're not invited. That you're trespassing. Get the fuck off my property. That's what I tell him.
A lot of these meter things are actually a scam right now, and it's some company that's buying your service and shit like that. So that's why you end up paying more.
I got 3 words. You have to say it right too. You have to say, "Go on, get," and then stamp at them as if they were like an alley cat.
Or, around where I live, people just, remind you that they've got somebody with a shotgun pointed at you,
It's a good point.
Huffing you up, baby.
No, I mean,
Old man just answers the door and says, "Yeah, I think the neighbor's interested. Go check it out."
Well, like one of the
Send everybody their way.
last year got robbed, and like in a way that the people doing it had to have been watching the house for like at least 2 days. We figured because of how like the car situation. Basically, there was like a shitload of people there all the time. When it got robbed, there was cars there that we were normally driving, but like on that particular day we hadn't been. So like, I don't put it past people at this point to do really weird shit, and especially like, I don't know, I don't have some huge operation in my house, but like people might know that I have plants here. You know what I mean? And that's like another thing. If you are growing in your house, to be, I guess, mindful of is that like people do really shitty things, and they do them much better than you might ever give them credit for. One of my buddies got robbed and they like legit ripped the meter off of his house to cut his cameras, like yanked the meter off.
I've been robbed twice by my fucking former best friend / business partner / roommate. Yeah, he fucking same thing, moved out, and then him and his little fucking buddies came and robbed, stole my shit. Fucking faggots. And then I didn't know. They came, check this out then. Okay, so they fucking robbed me. I call them because I still think they're on my side. I don't know any better, you know what I mean? I think we're on good terms. There's no reason for me to believe they would rob me, like we're still kind of business partners. I call him, they come over the next day, look me in the eye, shake my hand. Oh, it's gotta be the neighbors, So I don't, I move out of that area, shut my shit down, completely uproot my life, move. And then my dumb ass makes contact with them again because I don't know any better. I hadn't figured it out at this point. I still think it was my old ex-neighbors, Phil Poppers. So they now know where I live. And here's the bitch of it. I just so happened to fucking crop out. Well, my first little crop, nothing serious. It was like a 4-lighter, 4-banger, but it was me getting back on my feet. That was my first get back on my feet fucking crop. I just so happened to fucking run into the fucking older brother because I was actually working a steady job doing landscaping for minimum fucking wage. Seen him at lunch, and I just so happened to be like, "Hey man, I just cropped out. Let's fucking smoke. I'll hit you up." Guess what happened? The next day at work, I got fucking robbed again. Kicked in my door. I actually didn't kick in my door that time. First time they crowbarred the door. Second time they jumped through an open window, which I told my roommate at the time, "Don't leave the window open," but he did. Stole all of our shit again. Stole all my fucking weed. Stole everything. Sent me into a real dark place. Living in a fucking friend's basement for a month or two after that. I almost quit growing because people are so shady. I was like, why? I still don't understand why they fucking did it. His own cousin ended up creating a fake profile on Facebook, hitting me up and trying to extort me. He was like, "Oh, I know who it is. Here's what they stole. Like, what are you gonna tell me to tell you who it was?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm poor as fuck. I'm living like don't even have a paycheck to live through right now. So what do you want? You want to promise you some future fucking, you know what I mean? I got my t-shirt on my back. You come have like, tell me who fucking robbed me." Turned out it was fucking them bitches. I really don't want to say their names. So I don't want to start anything but you know who the fuck they are. So anyway, they one dude they were with got caught, they got fingerprinted in the second house. They fingerprinted, pretty much figured out who it was, and he got caught up in selling he sold an automatic firearm to an ATF agent, so he got locked up for a while there. I actually heard he was out, so a couple plea deals later, ratting on some people, and he's out. So, but yeah, long story short, like, this industry is very fucking dangerous. It still is. I mean, it's getting a little bit better as it's getting a little bit more friendly and out of the shadows. But shit, I know my one buddy's friend's brother. They're robbing the delivery services. They'd come and fucking call for the delivery service, and they'd order up the most you can, and they'd hop in, get them in the situation where they fucking they'd end up robbing them, pull a gun and robbing them. So they figured out, I think this went like this, like the girls that these people they were robbed, a couple black kids they robbed, the girls they were partying with like told them like these kids were doing this, like here's who robbed you. So the girls set them up, came over, they were just gonna like rob the kids, kind of fuck with them, you know, the kids that got robbed were gonna kind of retaliate per se, don't confuse anybody. So they called them over to this house in Detroit, a couple houses in Detroit. These girls did to say, hey, let's party, bring some weed, like let's hang out. And these black kids end up jumping them, fucking torturing them for I think a couple days, and then end up fucking killing them at the end of the.
I think I heard about that on the news.
In Redford, yeah, I think it was in like they were from Redford, but yeah, you know, dangerous. A couple guys that own the dispensaries on Plymouth and Telegraph, dudes that went to school with one of my friends in Redford. They went on that little crime spree of robbing dispensaries. Robbed the one in they're in Telegraph in Plymouth. I forget the name of it. It was a bunch of years now. And then they went, and I don't know if you guys, well, you probably don't know. He's a shopper up at Alter Green. Used to make my oil. Then they start hitting local grow house that they know. And this dude would always be really like adamant about selling to anybody and everybody and giving oil. He ships oil out, the Healing Simpson oil, Healing Earth oil, you know, praises it. So the guys coming knocking, these two black dudes coming knocking, and they let him in. Lets them in, and they pull a long gun, I think it was like a big gun and a shotgun and a pistol. And there was Howard, who was little. Well, should I say his name? It was the one dude, and then his older son. His son was like 40. He's like 60. And they're growers. They grow weed in the basement and shit. And the son tried to make a quick move to tackle the dude, shot him in the chest, fell down the stairs, like the open door, I guess, rolled down the stairs, and then shot Howard in the neck. Went through his neck, and he survived. Then the two kids like went running out. Howard grabbed a shotgun, ran outside. They were already gone. Pumped like 2 or 3 rounds in the air, and then the Detroit, I think it was Detroit and Redford in that area. They showed up and started doing their investigation for murder and for all the weed and shit like that. So those kids end up down a couple blocks down from that house, end up being held up in the house, and then end up in a shootout. Both, I think, end up getting killed by the cops in a shootout. This was probably like, I don't know, 3, 4, no, probably longer than that. Probably like 5, 6 years ago, six plus, somewhere in that range. Oh God, this industry's been ticking now for a minute.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what a lot of people know is that, and they have stories about getting robbed and stuff from people that they showed their grow to. Like somebody said in chat, the rule is for every one person you show your grow or tell about it, they tell 10 other people. So you really got to be careful of that, because your friends' friends will be the ones that pull down your window AC and take all your plants.
Oh yeah, it's usually it's usually somebody you know, that's for sure. And it's like, it's funny you say that, because you know, I started in like, I think 06-ish, and like in 06 when I bought this Bible. Let's see what the date on it is. I think it's like 06. When it came out, it was like brand new.
I'm incredibly cautious most of the time, man. I know it's legal. Go ahead, Kyle. I'm just talking while you're doing anything.
Well, I'll just say in 2006, like the Bible, the first chapter right here, it talks about after Jesus and stuff, but it's security. This is all talking about security. You know, don't tell security checklist. Here's your security checklist. You know, I don't know if you guys can see it. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. You know, so yeah, you know, no light leaks, no friends, you know, nothing like that. You know, security. My first grow, it was just a little basement grow in my parents' house, but I didn't even tell my now wife, girlfriend at the time, but I didn't even tell her, you know. She called me up one day. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Trimming." She's like, what does that mean, trimming? I'm like, "Trimming weed." She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, "Yeah, I grew some weed and I'm trimming it now." She's like, "What do you?" She got all mags. I didn't tell her, and of course, came over. We smoked some scissor hash. She was all pissy, but yeah, security number one, man. You know, people are very, very lax about it. And I remember the first time even now, like, I'm probably putting my foot in my mouth, you know, saying things I probably shouldn't, because I'm still that old school way. I was still amazed, like, even when, 3 years ago when Snapchat was coming out, my one dude, he's still heavy on Snapchat, posting about how he's got bows, and he's got 18, 1700, 2800, all these different shit. Always posting about, always trying to slang shit over that. Always posting his grows, driving to his grows. Oh, I'm driving. Here's Westland, driving through Brownstown. He's like, bro, it's just a matter of time till someone sees your fucking grow, and then follows your ass down to fucking your grow. Oh, you drive a Cadillac. Okay, I'm going to wait at your shop that I see you at and drive to your fucking grow one day with you. Like, then you'll be lucky if you come out alive, let alone all your fucking shit that's there. Like, yeah, man, people get robbed. This industry's dark and dangerous. And maybe just because I'm like kind of more of a product of Detroit, like I'm not gonna claim like I'm from Detroit or nothing like that, but I've spent enough time like hanging out around there to know like, I was probably pretty fucking lucky as a kid pulling haymisters in the fucking D, like, but people are fucking crazy. So yeah, keep your mouth shut and keep your head down. But in today's world, like that's kind of what the reason why I really only have like one cannabis cup and 1,600 followers is because I didn't do that. When these cups first started coming around, when the Dab Smith and all them guys were like, yo, come on, let's go. I was like, yo, bad idea. Let's just chill. You know what I mean? Like, this is illegal. Let's not do this, So now because of it, guys that were doing it, they're pretty well established. And I mean, not that I'm not, but I guess more out in the limelight, These guys like Jack Hare and what's that one guy, Mark, what's his name? He's in Canada, isn't he? He got extradited to Canada or something. He's in jail over there. The Skunk magazine.
Mark Emery.
Yeah. Same thing with them guys. I mean, you gotta, if you're gonna stand up and be loud, then you gotta expect the attention, So I just never have wanted the attention.
I remember having friends that were doing like Instagram Live, or like I had a friend that was doing like YouTube 4-person panels a few years ago. And I remember thinking that it was like the dumbest idea. And then here we are.
Right.
Several years later, I, helped create a show or whatever, and here doing live panels on YouTube. But of course, the legal market is much different than it was then.
Exactly. I mean, it's more widely accepted. I remember before, like, people would never put their faces in any type of picture. They'd always be X'd out, blocked out, masked up. Anytime. Look at High Times magazines from, starting in early 2000s and then early on.
Classic bandana wraps.
No one ever shows their faces anywhere. Nowadays it's like people are proud to be like, yo, here's my fucking 1,000 light grow with, as many plants as I could fucking shove into it, as many millions of dollars as I can.
That's a marketing thing, man. You know what I mean?
For sure. Look at the Jungle Boys, man. They're fucking killing the game out there. Like, absolutely smoking it. Like, one of the biggest, loudest brands out there. And you're right. Like, one of the earliest cats to kind of do it and then put themselves out there. But I don't know. Amen to you.
Well, I think now the people that are doing it legally, like, it is super impressive. And I think, like, I'm not that old, but I never thought I would see shit like this in my lifetime. So, like, be able to be like, here's like 1,000 weed plants in one spot, where, like, the early High Times is like, here's this dude's like, 30 plants, and that's like amazing. So like it's just a different bar now. You know what I mean? Like, imagine in 30 years when mushrooms are legal, like, you know what I mean? Like, how fucking weird will that be? It's just like a lot of it's just like, cool to fucking see because we never thought it would exist,
Yeah, it's a whole new world. And I remember last year, I think it was a few years ago now, whenever the first High Times event I did on FIO, like, walking into that event, I mean, I know, like, I was kind of late for that game, but just heading into that event with holding on to some clones, it was just like, wow, this is now the way of the world. It was mind blowing. I don't know if I love it or hate it, but
really all of the events are kind of like, that's how I got connected with this group, was going to fucking the summer burnout. So like all of those things are kind of amazing, and it's super cool to like know what they've done for the people in this community. Like, one of the first people I learned how to grow from, he used to have meetings in his buddy's basement like every month, and they would all try all this different shit because they couldn't get stuff from grow stores. They'd have these like monthly meetings of these people that were like heavily vetted to make sure that they were like cool. And that's how they learned how to do things like pH their water and shit, and like what lights to run. So like the fact that we have this like open community now where you can go meet people and shit, like that's super cool.
I don't know if you guys are looking at what I'm showing you guys, but it's a high time from June 1988. And it's kind of funny you say that, because I mean, if you look at like a lot of the technology, sun spinner, that's funny. Have you guys ever seen these things? These things are pretty
Like
cool.
a fan blade, it rotates, right?
Yeah, 2, 3. I've seen a couple of them before. Not like
Never seen anybody that had one. Everybody had the gull wing ones.
Dude, one of my buddies grew in a storage container. And yeah, that track light thing, Kyle, that you just showed, basically they had a storage container and it was in the middle of the woods and the generator could only run one light per container. So they had lights on tracks like that and they would go from one side of the room to the other so that they could grow a full storage containers worth of plants on only one thing of power, which I thought was pretty clever.
I've seen them things do wonders. I kind of believe in them. I just don't run them.
When I was a kid, I moved out of my house when I was really young. So like at 14 or so, I was living in this house where a bunch of weed was being grown. And we had that one big bulb, one big balance with some like wings and the track system that went across the whole room, The whole thing was like
black
tinfoil. Everything was tinfoiled everywhere. It was pretty silly, but the most amazing shit really that was available, obviously me, but everyone else that I knew too. So it was cool,
I think like Nutrient Shootout said, a flip box is a really good answer these days to power problems.
Flip box. Holy shit, I haven't heard that in a while.
So one thing I've been hearing a lot about lately, I wonder if you guys have tried this or at least heard about it. Have you heard these guys doing at the end of harvest, last week of harvest, switching back to an 18-6 light cycle to finish them off? Has anybody tried that?
Yeah, that's what I did with what I've been doing with the sour melon when it's ran with other strains. Is I'll let that go either 24 or 18 and 6, and then I'll just start my next run next to it, and it works out fine. Like I believe it's Colin from Ethos Genetics, the first person to talk about it. It's because the roots will not. There's no new root tip growth during the last trimester in flowering. So that gives you a cushion period before you even have to worry about re-veg. So if you only have 2 weeks or so, you're good to go. Just go ahead and throw it in there. It seems to increase terpene levels. I would still give it darkness because we all know that recharges the terpene or the trikes. But
yeah, I've heard it specifically was for it gets you more bulk at the end too. Like it gives you a little bit extra weight.
Yeah, I'm right now at the point where I normally do that. So, I mean, just watch my garden the next couple weeks.
That's cool. I might have to actually set up a tent to just run 18-6 and finish off plants in.
You want to dial down your light too. You want to either take a light out or go down about halfway, because you got to think you're getting way more light in there than normal, so they're going to get their fulfillment for the day. Don't want to
DLI factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I thought the idea was to give it more closer to the most DLI that they can absorb. That gives it the most opportunity to fill out at the end.
Yeah, I was thinking it was kind of counterintuitive to that idea as well.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that it's that much more extended time because you're almost giving it like whatever 50% more time there. If you do the math, it should be about even for it. You're still going to be giving it more than just the full on for the 12 if you're running at 18 hours.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cutting it down like that could be good for that spectrum. On my end, like with my HPS, if I cut my HPS in half or down to like 55 or 60%, I'm getting a really, really deep red spectrum. So it could be good, maybe for finishing. I don't know.
Yeah, I've actually shout out to Rick Wolf in the chat talking about blue light at the end. That's another strategy to bring on the trichomes, it seems, and I actually have a spare 315 CMH. I was thinking I could just set that up and finish in there.
Those are really quality lights too. I think when I go shopping for more lights, if I don't have the budget for the LED quite saved up, that's what I'm going to go for is the CMH.
I like mixing spectrum sometimes.
Yeah, I do too, actually, and I think that's a good idea too.
And Robert Mays was wondering if the heat and extra light would oxidize the resins. Yeah, he would, but like I said, we're down and back now. I say, or at least I recommend a dial it back during then. So heat's not, you're not even getting enough like recommended heat. You're probably running below, so you're getting a little bit. You'll probably get some coloring and whatnot. So I wouldn't worry about it like that. And I'm still recommending you give it at least 6 hours of darkness, 4 to 6 hours of darkness. So you'll have the time for your trichomes to recover each day.
And then at the end of your harvest, if you just turn the light off for 24 to 48 hours, then you're going to get that max retention, and then go ahead and harvest your plant.
Yeah, if you have the option to give your plant 48 hours of darkness or even 24, yeah, always do that before you harvest.
I just came out of my 48 hours of dark before flipping my shit into flower. So I don't fully understand the science behind that. I just know that it makes them pop a little bit faster. So if anybody could explain that to me, I would appreciate it. But that's kind of exciting that tonight my lights came on for my first 12 and 12 cycle. So
You're talking about you did 2 days of darkness before you flipped?
Yeah.
The way I look or think about it is it's a buildup of hormones inside the plant, and it's a certain hormone that only happens during the night period. So I figure if you're giving it the 48 hours, it's just overloaded with that hormone, and it knows what the hell is going on when you go to 12 and 12 instead of a gradual change.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just like makes it a super abrupt change, so it can't miss that there's a light cycle change. It signals the plant sooner or whatever. It's kind of the way I think of it too.
I feel like I've had some plants that if you don't do that, they take forever to switch over.
That's the one drawback of perpetual. I think I don't have a space to do that. I go from 18.6 right into 12.12.
Same here.
Yep, same here.
I'm envious.
Yeah, I can't do the 2 days off. I've done that 2 days off thing also. I loved it. I've like let plants die in place before. That's always cool too. Actually, what's really nice about the 2 days off is if you are going to chop them down, you don't have to water them because they don't drink. So that's pretty cool. Can't do it in perpetual. It kind of sucks, but yeah, it works, man. You get better product, I think. I don't know why, but hey, if you want to ask some good questions, DJ Short seems to know some good reasons on why he does it. So he might have maybe he knows the science behind it. But the couple seminars I attended, that's a lot of stuff that he went over was why he does it for 2 days off. Why he does like 11 on, 13 off light cycle, and why he does that 48-hour darkness before flip. So that's all really cool strategies, and it works. Different strokes, different folks.
Yeah, it worked out because I went out of town for the night anyway. So I was like, that'll make sure that I don't have to water because they don't drink as fast, I don't think, when the lights are off. So it worked out to do it anyway. And I know that it's better for whatever reason. But I also have a lot of like unsexed seedlings in that room that I'm hoping it'll make them show sex faster too, so that I can pull them out when I need to. And then I used the cloner this time because I want to extract the roots. I want to do a root extraction because I've heard that there's like lots of good benefits for that. And I tried doing one with like a plant that I had that I chopped down, but I wasn't happy with how clean I could get the roots by like manually scrubbing them and shit. So I'm going to leave all of the males in the cloner until their roots get like obnoxiously long, and then I'm going to do an extraction with those.
That's really smart for like the subject we were talking about earlier, like going on vacation, because certain systems only have like maybe a day or two. If you plan your dark period or whatever before you go on vacation, that buys you 2 days. And using there's apps and like smart timers now that you can get that are cheap, so there's no reason why you can't flip when you're on the road if you have to.
Yeah, it was nice. I like came home and you have that like anxiety because you haven't seen your shit in like, I don't know, more than 4 hours. I guess I get like panicky to open my rooms again. But it was cool. Like I got to come home and like turn the lights on for the first time, and they were all like super green and happy looking. So it's cool. It was like good to come home to.
Abolished, how was your vacation?
Pretty awesome, you guys. We went down and checked out Great Wolf Lodge down there in Sandusky. I know there's one here in Michigan, which I'm kind of bummed because I had a couple people hit me up like, "Oh, you're by here. Let's hang out." I was like, "Sorry, we ended up going to Ohio." But I really liked it because for the age range that our kids at, it's perfect. It's like Kalahari is the one right next to it. That seems to be like more catered towards adults and older kids, and this was just spot on. Like I enjoyed it. Got to hit some water slides and shit, break some land speed records, and throw my legs and back out. It was good times.
You getting too old for that type of physical activity?
I guess, man. That or just getting too old to try and show off. Like I can't be running and jumping down the tube up top because I think I'm cool.
Oh, you can do it. You just won't be cool.
You'll just regret it the next day and have like cramps.
How about you, Missy? It was your birthday weekend. How'd you enjoy it?
Oh no, it was great. I mean, it was nice to get away for a little while and get to just hang out and have family time and really, spend time with my kid and play and just have, just fun. We packed a lot into 2 days. But yeah, it was really good. We had a good time.
So how often did you think about the plants?
How often were you looking at the camera on them?
I mean, guys, that's why I grow the way I grow, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. I really wasn't worried at all.
Actually,
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like this time he was
Just the
less
cloners.
worried than I was. It was more like I was like, did you check on him? Have you looked at the
You
camera?
wanted to call the
Like,
babysitter, didn't you?
Yeah.
Be honest.
Like, have you looked at the camera? Have you checked on him? And then
Yeah.
everything looked really good, and we didn't really we didn't have a way that set up to check our cloner. Unfortunately, that was a surprise. We came in and we had lost our clones, but it was
Yeah.
okay. It's all stuff that we can, have replaced or we're able to take other clones of. So
Yep.
Yeah, that's the least bad thing to have happen, I think, is to have clones go. Because even if you're in flower, you can have clones taken again or whatever.
I was gonna say, and if you could have seen it, it's not like you could have done anything, not like you would have come back for clones. So it would have just like stressed you out. So it's kind of good that you didn't know until you got back.
Maybe you guys could have had a nice dinner about it. Played some sad music.
You still can.
It still can. It's never too late. You can get nostalgic.
I want to see a tea light candle. And some
yeah, it's actually funny. You guys were talking about putting the plants into darkness before harvest, and I always tell them I feel like it's so sad. Like we kill them in their sleep.
That's the way to go. And what we're gonna wake them up and talk to them, tell them how beautiful they are, and whack.
That's how I usually do it, come to think of it.
I let them get used to the darkness and the cold, and then I cut them fuckers up.
So like,
just
Fucking savage.
I feel
That's a
like
good
they're all-
topic, like when everybody chops, because I try to chop like before the lights come on sometimes, but sometimes I can't, depending on what room I'm in, and I have to chop like after the lights go off if I do want to chop during the darkness, or I got to chop when the lights are on. So I don't know. What's everybody do?
You got to go in there like a ninja in the darkness, because I'm telling you, them plants, they all watch and they talk to each other. Like, you got to get them. They're sleeping to get out of there. So they're like, what the hell happened to Jill?
Went to the great bowl in the sky.
Yeah.
So my planters are on rollers, are on roller wheels. So I pull them out of the flower room and I put them out in the dark.
Called the Green Mile, right?
Yeah, and then after 2 days in the dark with no water, they all get slayed like the beast they are.
Abattoir.
I thought about that idea for a long time. I was like, man, I want to just like wheel these suckers right into the drying room, give them a couple days of darkness, but they're in a scrog net, and it's, you know, if I pull them out of the scrog net, they're all going to go blop and then hit the ground, and I'm going to have dirty buds.
I'm facing this kind of for the first time because like the first time I'm running a perpetual now, so I have a number of different plants that were started at different times in my flower room. So, you know, some are under scrog and some are not. Some are staked and some are, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure how it's all going to work out, but it's kind of funny to hear you guys all talking about the different, you know, pluses and minuses of it.
So for like rows of scrog, I haven't tried this at anything longer than like 3 plants, but I imagine it'd work. You just bring in more people. But for like the 4x2s, when we take the whole scrog out, like sometimes I'll have Miss C grab one plant and I'll grab the other plant, and then we'll chop all 3 and they'll all be held up by the net. And you take the whole row out at once and then just hang that row up.
And if you use tomato cages, you can just basically cut the plant right at the dirt and lift up the cage and walk it over and trim it on there. And you can even flip it upside down and hang and dry off those cages as well.
So at home, I've got individual scrog nets for each one of my plants. So, you know, and then the plants are on wheels so they can be moved around and they have their own individual nets. When they go to be harvested, I just take that net off. It's not a net. It's I use actually hemp twine that I bought around little screws in the PVC pipe. And so I just undo that and pull it straight off the plant. So then there's no more net. And then I just chop the plant and pull it out of between that PVC screen. Then it's pretty easy. That's how I do it. In the darkness.
Usually in the darkness.
Yeah.
Final words. I do the old man. Just I tend to clip my plants out of the scrog rather than chopping the scrog away from my plants. I'll harvest some days. You know, sometimes I got a plant that needs an extra 3 days, and they're in the same. You know, the net's a big long net, and they're all in the same thing, and I don't want to snap the nut in half, and then everything falls over. So I'll have to just, you know, take my time clipping it out of the net, and eventually it's gone. You know, it works out. It works out eventually. You got to do it easily, or else those, like the plastic nets, they'll take a butt off. They act like razor blades if you're going too fast with it. So, you know, kind of be delicate.
That's why I was kind of curious. Do you guys like to hang with the net, or do you take the net off and let it dry?
I cut the plants out of the net when I harvest.
I say at a big scale at work, that's exactly, we usually have 3 nets. And we're cutting each plant out individually out of that netting and cutting the netting off when we harvest. And we're using the plastic netting. Now at home, I've done it both ways. I used to use the scrog netting, the pre-made netting. And so I try to save it. So I try to pull the plant through, but you know, you start pulling buds off and stuff like that. So then I just started cutting it. And I didn't like that because I was creating a bunch of crap that I had to throw away. So that's what made me switch up to the hemp string stuff that I just string through to make the netting that I can just pull back through like just a line. And I can usually weave that out of the plant really easy at the end. And I can reuse it.
Yeah, there's a way that I like to cut them when I am harvesting. Like if I do keep the scrog intact, if I'm harvesting a couple, I'll make sure that I'm cutting like with the width rather than with the length, if you can figure out what I'm saying. Because if you cut it a certain way, like the whole middle is just going to collapse and you're going to lose it. But if you cut it the other way, you'll be able to access a couple of the internals. And that's just if you're harvesting, like if you're doing the whole thing, man, chop the scrog, like snip it away if you're disposing of it and you're recycling it, whatever. Do that. If you're trying to keep it, you might have to be a little more delicate. I dig it, Spartan.
I know. I found me and Miss C found a couple times like cutting it out freehand. That's why we don't do it no more. We found like little microfibers from the cotton nets. So we definitely don't mess with that no more.
Yeah, I switched
Yeah.
it. Those
See
too.
that
I don't
happen.
like those. I wish I could remember the name of the company, but there's somebody that's in the DGC that started a company that's selling scrog nets now that are like a nylon that are stretchy. And he sells a set where let me think of this if I got it right. The bottom net has the bigger holes for you to spread them out, but then the top net has the tighter holes so you can get individual colas within each hole. I think it looks badass, but man, I wrote it down somewhere. But there's
know
something
You have to let me know what that is so I can look into them.
He's
Yeah.
got two different options too for the people that like to do the double net or the people that like to just run one. I seen it. I'm definitely gonna look into it because I think it was only like $20 or it was $30 for the double set.
Yeah, and I believe it was out of Colorado. I know it's a Colorado company. So, man,
It
I
was
wish
like a nice band material too, wasn't it? Like an elastic, almost like a hair tie or something, right?
it kind of reminded me of the like those ties, the stretchy ties, the nylon ties.
Yeah, like a big nylon tie or something. Yeah. Oh, like a bungee, like a nylon bungee.
Yeah, exactly. It reminded me
Yeah.
of like a bungee or something like that.
Or like the stuff you would put over the bed of a truck. Everybody ever have one of those? Truck bed bungee.
I thought. I mean, it depends on how tight that they hold. Because it needs to be able to hold the colas up. But it seems like to harvest around the plant, it would be nice to be able to. If you had two people, maybe you can just pull it open and then pull it off the plant. Seems like it's a pretty cool idea. I don't know. But with microbials and shit in Michigan, I don't know about having to clean it. You'd have to spray it with something to keep that thing clean. Maybe a peroxide water mix or something.
Or wash it in a pool or something.
Yeah. There's something to be said about the little nylon or the little plastic ones that you can just cut up and throw away every time. I know it's creating a mess, but it's also pretty damn clean to start with new material every time.
Somebody build us a hemp one that we can biodegrade.
Yeah, that's what I want to see is a good hemp one. And hey, let's see some 4-inch squares on the plastic ones too. I know they got 4-inch squares on the net ones. Let's see some plastic 4-inch squares.
Think of the turtles, Spartan.
Well, to be honest with you, we have still to this day every net that we've cut off contained in one garbage bag. It's a huge garbage bag, but it's about filled to its maximum. But we're trying to keep it all in one bag, so it's not something that's littered through all one thing. And maybe we might have an option to where we might be able to have somebody who recycles plastic or somebody take care of that for us.
I was just gonna say, man, I bet there's some crafty dude out there that likes to melt down milk jugs and stuff and make plastic toys and shit, you know? You can find that guy, man. Recycle that stuff.
Tip Top Magoo says it's Growers Scrog Nets on Instagram.
It's crazy.
That's it. Yep. Thank you for that, Tip Top Magoo. I can't talk up too high.
That
Thank
could
you
be
for that.
pretty
That's
nice
what it
hustle, Spartan. You can open up a merch shop in front of Mint Canico. You know, make some little figurines and whatnot out of melted nets.
Yeah. I don't know if the law will allow us to do anything. If we did, we'd have to charge 16% sales tax because we're a cannabis company.
So does anybody have anything cool going on in their gardens right now?
Yeah, I got some interesting stuff. The Easy Swap Pot room that we originally had 6 plants in are now down to 3 thanks to the super clones that Spartan gave us. And the ones that are in there are it was the Gorilla Glue taking the middle, and then off to the left is the Snow-A-Cane, and then the one off to the right is your Blue Cough. I ended up having to break the Spartan glue down into 4 different clones because my original 2 clones died over vacation because I didn't check my water and my cloner. And then other than that, like I said, I'm getting right to the point where I'm going to be switching my bigger tent into the extended light period. So, and I also did 2 checks on Babel and one of my phenos of the Grand Champagne that I thought were finishing up quick. They're on day 52, and I'm already finding ambers on lowers, so I feel I might take those pretty soon.
I had a ballast and ball blow up tonight. You want to see a picture? See, here it is. Look, you see it? See it melting?
It's crazy.
Were you in the room when it happened? Scared the shit out of you?
No, my peoples were there. They called me, said they a ball blew up. That's the picture. See it melted?
Yeah, I'm assuming at that point you just replaced the whole fucking thing, right?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I had an extra fixture laying around in a dimmable ballast, so I wonder if there's a warranty. I'm gonna call them. But that's exciting stuff.
Running on 110 or 220?
2. Yeah. The first time I ever hooked up to 240 or whatever, I fucking didn't switch the ballast over. It was a switchable, you know.
Whoops.
And yeah, that thing fucking blew. Poof! I was like scared the shit out of me.
It's a bummer of a mistake to make.
Yeah. Yep.
One of my buddies blew up 3 lights, turning them on for the first time in a new room because he hooked them up to the wrong ones and fucking exploded them.
Nutrient Shootouts in chat said he has someone asking about root aphids and deep water culture in veg. Does anyone have any experience with that?
My buddy had them in veg and cut his whole room down and started over.
My only first fucking go-to would be I'd try to fucking drench the fuck out of them with that Lost Coast plant therapy with maybe a little bit of added ISO at 30 mils per gallon and see what the fuck happens. It's not gonna hurt anything, but it might fuck up some aphids.
And do your research. Look up Dr. Lang Ingram and everything she has to say about aphids and this new aphid that's making its way around commercial cannabis crops because we keep on breeding super predators.
You breed super predators.
I've got a friend that breeds super PM.
Yeah, didn't you see it? I shared it today. The centipedes.
But the next best biological that oh shit, how you say that sequence? That
BB?
BB.
Oh yeah, beneficial PM.
Yeah,
Official PM.
it's Bovaria bassiana or something like that. It's beneficial.
Oh, he's such a good sport about that.
Sometimes it takes a while for it to click in my mind. And it's a fungus, so it can help you fuck up those root aphids.
BB for root aphids. DWC. What do you think about that though? BB and DWC.
Well, the reason I suggested that was when I went to that regenerative conference, the bug lady Suzanne Wainwright Evans handed a little sheet out, and I have it stapled to my wall right here above this computer. And it has 2 different categories, one for foliage aphids and one for root aphids. And the only thing on there that's listed at all to help is that Bovaria bassiana. There's no other mode of action one or anything. And I trust her way more than I trust myself when it comes to that.
Yeah, so I talked to her about that specifically because I have that like gnat issue, and what she specifically recommended to me was to use the WP, which I believe stands for wettable powder, but it's
Yeah.
I have the ES, which she said use it. It's just as good. It's a liquid, but it does have like I guess a shelf life. I think the WP might be a little more shelf stable. Don't quote me on that.
We're talking about the same thing. That's just
Yeah. No, I know we are. Yep. Yeah,
Botanic.
so I'm recommending. Yep, it's the Botanigard is specifically the product. I'm recommending the WP over the
that's wettable
ES.
powder or something.
Yeah, and I would recommend the same thing for the same reason. It is better, and it's really
Oh,
easy to
absolutely.
mix it up. You just shake it up in a mason jar to really break it up because it's a powder, and put that in your sprayer.
And that other product she's been recommending was that Suffix oil for like pretty much any other thing. So I mean, if you got, according to her, I mean, pretty much if you have those 2 bottles on hand, I mean, you're good for almost everything. You know, maybe minus PM. Maybe Suffix oil will help with PM. I don't know. Don't quote me on that either.
It may. I think it may. I think I heard that.
I think it might be on those ends of what that is supposed to do.
They're both kind of prices up front, but you get them in like large quantities. So it's something that you can invest in right now. It's going to pay off in the long run. Both those items, they're like ag items almost. So I think Suff Oil X, I was looking into it, and I want to say it was in the $60, $70 range for a 2.5 gallon. And that's the smallest you could get, 2.5 gallons of the concentrate. And then the Botanicare wettable powder is pretty expensive too. I don't remember what it was, but I remember when I looked at it, I was like, nope, out of my price range.
When I got the ES, it was $280 something for like a gallon and a half jug, something like that. Dude, it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. But that's the difference between using Eagle 20 and using some natural products, right?
Yeah, I was lucky because I knew a guy to get the powder through, so I could get it a little bit cheaper, thankfully. It was like buying it from behind a 7-Eleven, but it's the good stuff, I swear.
Cut for sure.
So you guys, to beat the root aphids, like, I mean, what was your exact process? I mean, I know we gave a couple products to use. Like, what did you do? Was there anything else? Like, did you go and blast off the roots or anything else? Or you just did the drenches with the stuff?
I've never really had them, so I've never had to fight them. But that's what I would do. Yes, I would do root drenches because that's where they're at. And like most products, it's got to be contact, so you got to get it on the pest. So I'd be like drenching them to good runoff, and let them dry out and drench them to good runoff, and doing that for at least a week to 2 weeks, you know, and then go from there. Maybe
And then you
at that
treat with it.
point, yeah, I say at that point maybe switch to a treatment that's a different mode of attack. Maybe go from a root drench to Beauveria bassiana inoculation. You know, give that a couple weeks, and then go back to a root drench of something else, or maybe another mode of action that, you know, maybe there's a beneficial predator or something that could go after root aphids. But that's how I would tackle it.
And you got to think that it is a bacteria. So if you're also using something like nematodes or something like that, they're going to go in and they're going to eat the Bavaria bus. Yeah, they're going to eat that BB, and they're going to not work. So
I like it when you try to say the whole thing, Red.
So is there any mechanical treatments that people would recommend to do? Like, because like when we're dealing with fungus gnats, we'll lock down the pots, use high winds, stuff like that. Is there anything like that for root aphids for people out there to go along with their treatments? Because it's always better to attack pests from like 3 different angles.
I mean, you can pull out your pots and you can scrape your roots and stuff like that. I don't see why not. Hit them directly. I wouldn't use any like harsh like H2O2 or anything like that to try to mess with them if you're using beneficials, because you'll kill it. You'll kill your beneficials.
My assumption would be that a lot of that stuff that you would do like that, like scraping on your roots, is probably more harmful than the aphids are in the first place.
Possibly.
The shock factor for sure, and damage potential. When
Definitely
you realize that it's the end of the root hairs that where all the magic happens.
So
especially
if
they're trying to go into flower.
Yeah, if you're going into like drastic measures, I would imagine that you could take the plant out of its pot, you could bring it to a shower, and you could rinse the roots, or you bring it to a sink and rinse the roots with water and get every last bit of soil and hopefully root aphid off of it. Maybe have a pre-mixed, like at the same rate that you would water in a root drench, have a pre-mixed pitcher right there, dunk the entire root ball right into that root mass, and then have a pot ready of fresh new soil and just repot that plant. Give it a little bit bigger space too to grow out. And I mean, that's, take the rest of that water from the root drench and drench that into this new soil. And I mean, that's the best I think I could do, like nuclear measures.
That will work. That's how I saved the OG from russet mites all them years ago. It was a complete uproot, soaking it in lukewarm water in a bucket, getting it all clean, and then doing dunks.
I'm a huge proponent for dunks. I mean, that's the best way to get full coverage. You can think you're the best with the spray wand, but come on, man. A full dunk, it's so much faster. I mean, it is kind of messy sometimes, but a full dunk is your friend if you can pull it off.
Shoot, that's what I like about the BB, because you can mix it in your reservoir, you can mix it in a water solution, and you can water it in. You can do a complete soak. You can basically use it to irrigate if you wanted to, but you're going to have a disgusting reservoir.
But I mean, like what Nutrient Shootouts was talking about, this guy I think was in DWC, so it'd be really easy for him to do a dunk in his root system. Pop it right out of your DWC system, have that 5-gallon bucket already mixed up, give her a good dunk, and back in your system. Do that every fucking day.
Yeah, I think you're best off in tackling root aphids in DWC. Honestly, that's probably, dunk it right into the BB. What do you think about sulfur? Think that help not kill root aphids? What if you did a sulfur dunk?
I would be scared because sulfur is an element that can be uptaken, like for nutrition.
Right,
So I would be afraid that I'd get a toxicity at some point and lock something else out. So I would avoid that, but like I'd stick more with like the oil-based stuff and that kind of thing, or the beneficials like the BB, because I'd be worried about that mineral. You're still getting sulfur, and you might get to a toxicity level if you keep doing that. My favorite for sulfur is dunks when they're when they're clone size. I love sulfur dunks because you get full coverage, and it's kind of like protecting that. It's got like a coating it almost on the leaves. But then once they get off and going, that's when I switch to plant therapy, and I'm really liking that stuff. So that's all I'm doing right now.
And that plant therapy is pretty much only good for like direct contact, right? It's got to be like it kills pests, but it kills them like immediately, and it is plant safe.
Yeah. Yep. The guy, like I think Sequence has brought up before, on his Instagram, the guy's literally has a video of him taking it sprayed right into his face. He's got his mouth open, right in his face. So, of course, on the bottle it says you can spray it all the way to harvest, but that's not, what I'm doing. But
Now I'm thinking that's going to kill BB. If you're using BB, that's
I
probably
would,
going to.
yeah, I would think so too, because it will kill PM. But it's just an oil product, so that's why I don't use it in flower, because I think that oil would bond with your trichomes and break those down. So I'm not interested in using that in flower, but I love that product and I use it all the time. I would recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to go, is that I'll inoculate the BB in the soil like a week before flip from veg to flower, and then I hope that kind of takes over for the sprays. That's kind of my system right now.
Yeah, I actually added the wettable sulfur into my regimen this time because I've been looking for something to combo the soap nuts with other than just different essential oils rotating. And I sprayed right before I went in the flower, and my original plan was just to leave all them leaves with the beneficial PM look on there and then just let it grow. But should I go in there with my soap nuts and spray them off one more time so it's all clean in there, or do I not have to worry about sulfur dust getting on my buds or anything like that from the
No, it won't get on your buds because what's going to happen is your plant is going to stretch when it hits flower. So all those bud sites are going to be non-sulfur areas. But it was a prophylactic and all the other shit that you're bringing forward into flower.
So I've looked at the leaves with my little scope, I have a little 100x scope, and it just looks like little dots of sand on your leaf, at least the ones that I was looking at. So I guess it's going to depend on your sprayer and how small stuff's sprayed. So as far as I think that's just going to stay in that leaf, and I wouldn't think it's going to fall off or anything like that. And if it does, I mean, you're talking such a small, tiny amount. I think it's a beneficial thing because kind of what I was going at before, it's a beneficial mineral. Sulfur really helps, I think, bring out flavors in flower, like the skunky side of the flower. And that's why I use Epsom salt. But I also think, or I also know that when you foliar feeds nutrition to a plant, it absorbs it's way more efficient for the plant. It absorbs way more of that nutrition through the leaves than it would if you poured that same amount of water on its roots. So usually the nutrition is usually cut down when you're watering it. So what I'm thinking is with that sulfur source readily available for the plant when it needs it, in the area where it can absorb as much as it needs, I think it's kind of a beneficial thing. So I'm just kind of happy it's there. I never try to wash it off. I just let it sit there on the plant.
I thought it was really cool too, because my observation for the first time using it, like just as a spray, not as a dunk, the plants, like, they looked ugly, you know, because they had the beneficial PM, and then like the next day you instantly seen new growth, like they loved it, like the new growth was praying, like it was cool.
All right, Abolish. So you had some very specific lighting questions. So I called my most recent resident lighting expert, Lost Leaf MI, just popped into the call down there. Shout out to him. And he knew a lot about DLI and different things like that I don't know the high science on. So if you want to run by your problems that you're running into, he might have some answers for you.
Yeah, basically what I'm wondering is I've been paying attention, like I produced your interview and whatnot, and been noticing a lot of your talk on DLI. And we were in my bigger tent today, or was it 2 days ago? And Miss C, with a fresh set of eyes, noticed that the plants underneath the CMH were all healthy, green, and still looked like they had 2 more weeks to go at around day 50-ish. And then on the other hand, the plants that were directly underneath the my cannons, the LEDs, they are finishing up really quick. I've had phantom deficiencies from they're just being overclocked and whatnot. And now, basically, from your guys' talk and data from my full switch to LED this year, I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to get that perfect DLI. Like, should I go back and take out my CMH and run the 11 hours with just my LED? Because that seemed to not run in. I didn't run into any deficiencies until I added my CMH in there too.
Yeah, so I think that there's something to be said about running those 2 sets of lighting kind of right next to each other for sure. I've definitely heard of a lot of people kind of running into problems when they do that, mainly because of the difference in environmental requirements from LEDs over to CMH. But then if you're getting some cross lighting in the middle there, you might be getting some super heavy PBFD numbers right in the middle, which could throw off kind of everything too. But you're using cannons, you said? What kind of LEDs are they?
Yeah, I got 2 of the 240 cannons, and I got 1 315 CMH in there with it. And I got it in a triangle fashion in a 5x5.
And what's you know what the wattage or anything about PBFD numbers on the LEDs at all?
No, that was something I was talking about in chat, that I need to get on there and get the specs, get the exact numbers, and find that site that you were talking about on GML and plug that in. I want to figure all that stuff out.
Yeah, if you look up DLI and then science, which is spelled SCYNCE, it'll come up with a DLI calculator. And then if you go down to the bottom here, you can see your PPFD on the side, on the left side, and then your hours per day will be on your right hand or up on top. And you can just kind of use that as, it's just very similar to like a VPD chart. Just kind of scroll over and see where you're sitting when it comes to PPFD numbers and stuff. So I mean, if LEDs usually finish a lot faster than other forms of light, it's been my experience. But definitely the DLI would play into that, and it would play into deficiencies as well with your LEDs, because if you're running, you know, if you're in veg and you're running like 600 to 700 ppfd and you're running your plants for 18 hours of light, then your plants are not even able to process the last like 3-4 hours of that light. So LEDs are already like pushing your plants to take up more magnesium. I've noticed more magnesium uptake, more of certain micronutrient uptakes with LEDs. So if you're already pushing that and then your plants can't absorb any of that light or process any of it, then it's just going to push those deficiencies even further. So that's a big thing that I've noticed, and ever since I've dialed my light back, I've always kind of had problems with LEDs and veg, especially when switching over to newer technology, because you're getting into higher PPFD numbers, you know, whereas older technology, if you're looking at like blurples and stuff like that, you didn't really run into that as much of like the purple stems, you know, where people a lot of times miscategorize what kind of deficiency that is too. They think that it's something to do with their nutrients, and a lot of times it has nothing to do with their nutrients, and it has everything to do with the amount of light the plants are getting. So
I think there might be something I could be wrong here, but I know how the LEDs tend to like a little higher temperatures, whereas, for example, in HPS, not so much. So I wonder, having that mix in there, if that's going to kind of give you a little bit of a messed up environment too, it might cause you somewhere.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a huge thing. I mean, your LEDs require, you know, I run mine 85 to 88 degrees. But that's because with CMH is a little bit different too, because CMH doesn't have the IR, I believe, that HPS has. So IR is obviously going to raise the temperature of your leaf surface. So your leaf surface temperature is what you mainly want to go off of. You can buy one of those cheap little infrared thermometers, and you're looking for a temperature of somewhere between 81 to 83 degrees in order to get your plant to transpire properly, to take those nutrients up, and to compensate for all the photons, those specialized spectrum of photons that you're blasting the plant with. It's got to compensate for that. There's got to be some sort of and that's the main tweak for LEDs, really, that I've noticed. If you don't have your temperatures up there, even if your temperatures are like, you know, 81 to 83 degrees, just because it's in your ambient temperature does not mean that that's what your leaf surface temperature is going to be. So that even that small break between 79 and 80 degrees can be detrimental when it comes to LEDs. But yeah, DLI is crazy, man. And getting into like flowering, I can't wait. I haven't really been able to play with it a whole lot in flowering, because I've been bouncing back and forth between so many different theories, especially when it comes to phytochrome transition period. So I play a lot with 730 nanometer light, which is like a flower initiator. It puts plants to sleep 10 minutes versus normal takes about 2 hours when you flip the light switch off for the plants to realize and flip that phytochrome and process that it's time to go to sleep, you know, where it kind of simulates a sunset in a sense. And a lot of people have kind of misconstrued that you can then use that to get extra light, and it really kind of just depends upon if you're using less than 700 ppfd of light, because if you've got 800 to 1000 ppfd, which most people nowadays do in flowering, at least if you're running those high numbers, there's absolutely no reason to be running extra light. So I was always kind of told that, hey, if you shut your plants off, you know, and you make them fall asleep, then you can blast them with an extra hour of light, and they're not going to turn into hermaphrodites or anything like that. But it's just, there's no point in running that extra light, especially when you're up that high, because they can't process it anymore. So what you're actually doing is you should be doing is saving money by doing that. You know, the DLI is meant to make the most use of that light, and then when it's done, it's done. You know, your plants. If you guys have ever noticed, like when you go into the room, if you go in there and like 2 to 3 hours before the lights shut off, if all the leaves are down and the plants are kind of droopy and they're going to sleep, I noticed that all the time, and I was always just like, man, the plants are like fucking ready to go to sleep. It's like 2 hours till the lights off. What the fuck is going on? You know, never really like understood what was going on until all this stuff about DLI starts coming out, and you're like, oh, okay, so they're done at that point. They're not taking any more light up. They're saying no, thank you.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier about recently something that keeps popping up is people saying to like finish your last week of your cycle to throw the cycle back up to 18.6. But with everything you just said, that kind of makes me think that no, that probably wouldn't make it worth my time to spend electricity to do that.
Yeah, no, that definitely. I don't think. I think if anything, if you're going up to, if you got upwards of 1,000 ppfd, which I mean, if you're running DEs or if you're running a brand new, you know, high efficiency LED, you could be upwards of 1,000 ppfd. I mean, and if you can do that, if you can hit those numbers, then you only need to run 9 hours of light. I mean, you're cutting 3 hours off a day per cycle. I mean, that ends up adding up for sure. Especially if you're running 1,000 watts DEs, you know, I mean, like, that's a lot of fucking power. So, and then in the end, I think that honestly, I think it's going to contribute to a better product, because I've done some testing with like reds, mainly with like shutting off reds was one thing that I was really toying with recently, and I tried to simulate shutting the reds off where I was running Green Jeans photo boost strips, and I tried to simulate shutting the reds off by dialing the lights back to like 50% for the last like couple weeks, and I had just amazing test results, that I had gotten on strains where it was not comparable. The shit was just way higher, 3-4% higher. And
are you talking about all cannabinoids or terpenes?
Yeah.
Or what are we talking? Everything?
No, yeah, I'm talking terps and cannabinoids. All of it was just up. The whole round was just astonishing. And then the next round, I was like, okay, so I started, you know, that's what I assumed it was. I assumed it was less red exposure because I was dimming the lights back. And so on the next round, I got these science lights, and I was able to then dial back the reds entirely. So the reason was that I thought this was the case was because there's a study that was published by either Lumatex or Lumagrow or something like that, and they basically showed that terpenes would get degraded from red light exposure within the last 72 hours before harvest. So I was trying to put that to the test, and so I dialed back the reds on these science lights for the last week to 2 weeks, and then my test results were right back where they were before. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, okay, that's clearly not what happened then. It wasn't the reds. I mean, I noticed it, there was a little bump in terps here and there, but it wasn't anything like it was before. So then all of a sudden this stuff about DLI came out, and I'm like, okay, so in a sense, what I was doing was dialing lights back to 50%, and I was running somewhere around probably like 700 ppfd, and my plants weren't hitting that point of light saturation where they couldn't process that light anymore. And I started thinking, okay, well, maybe it's because plants can't process that light, so they can't use that to create more resin, and I obviously THC starts degrading with excess light, I would imagine, if you're just overexposing it, so
plus it could have just been a tiny amount of light stress. Once you get past that DLI, and you're starting to stress your plant, I imagine.
For sure. It's all crazy stuff, but it's cool. It's I'm excited to put it all to the test in here.
Dude, you rock.
Sorry, I'm doing a dab, but I wanted to thank you, Lost Leaf, for coming on here. Abolished asked me this question earlier today, and I DM'd Lost Leaf, and he was like, "I'm pretty busy, but I'll try to make it." So we tried to schedule this thing for about 10:30, and he popped right on here and dropped a ton of knowledge for us, and I was really, really cool of him. So thank you for coming on here.
No problem, guys. I been working really hard on trying to. I got my big inspections this next week for licensure, so I got MRAs coming on Tuesday, and then I got Bureau of Fire Safety on Thursday. So big week for us, and I've just been running around kind of paranoid because I've heard some things about the MRA inspections. So I've heard they're not very easy to pass on the first time, but we would like to try to do that as close to the first time as possible.
Make sure you got
Yeah,
cameras on your cameras. You should be okay.
We've literally walked through and been like, okay, there's no dead spot. I've moved these fucking cameras. Each of these cameras at least have moved once. And I've had my wife stand here and I'm like, all right, I'm going to walk through the entire fucking building. And if I disappear once, we're putting another fucking camera there. So I think we're good though. I put a lot of time into making sure that everything's right and reading the rules and everything and trying to make sure that we're compliant. So I think we're going to be good. Hopefully we'll have good news and have a reason to celebrate next week.
Well, we're rooting for you, man. It's cool. It's cool
Yeah,
to see
absolutely.
Michigan grower, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, good luck to you, man. I'm trying to fight the same fight, man. Good luck to you, seriously.
If you guys are interested in seeing more Lost Leaf's awesome content, Lost Leaf MI on Instagram. And awesome dude. Episode 27 on our show. It is 10:52, so we got to roll into our final shout outs. Abolished, you're first.
Yeah, real quick though, before I do the shout out, I wanted to mention that we'll have the details posted here probably shortly after the chat or after the show, but we'll be doing a little giveaway here. We'll be hooking up these two genetics here along with enough Bad Bunny for you to do a couple side-by-sides, a bunch of Grow Bro slaps, my personal slaps, and Bad Bunny from a few other friends too. I'm gonna do this a couple times over the next few weeks as a way to give back because we really appreciate you guys. Like, you Groskies, we love you guys. This wouldn't be nothing without you. So I will have the details up, pictures up of what you can win this week and when the drawing will be. So stay tuned. And as far as shout outs, Abolish Farms, find me on IG, YouTube, Cannabuzz, and wherever you find Michigan Grow Bros Productions. And don't forget to check us out on Twitch, as Streamlabs has let you know many times tonight.
Yeah, and shout out to Mantis for the seeds for that thing.
Catch me on Instagram, guys. Miss Cantaloupe.
Thank you, guys. Red Setter, what's up?
What's going on, everybody? You can catch me on Instagram at Red Setter Farm. You can catch me here on YouTube. I just dropped a video in this past week, a number 2 video, and hopefully I can get on track and keep dropping more content. I appreciate you guys on the Michigan Bro Show channel for dropping an update video for me. And hopefully that's going to be the new thing, is just we're going to keep driving some more content your way. So I want to thank everybody in chat for coming along, and big shout out to my mom. She just had a birthday, so big milestone birthday. So I love everybody for tuning in, and rock and roll. See you guys next week.
Thanks, Red. Old man, what's up?
What a show. Pretty cool. It's always an honor to be here, be a part of, something as cool as this. I think it's really, really cool to be a part of the community in this way. So good time with chat tonight as well. Lost Leaf, awesome. Fuck, man. I got some DEs going, I'm about to dial them back. What am I doing? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I've been making a lot of hash, pressing some rosin. It's been pretty crazy. A lot of work. I don't know, man. I love you guys. See you next week.
Thanks. I'm trying to type in the chat and talk at the same time. Spartan, what's up? Oh, you're muted.
Stone muted.
Sorry, I was a double mute there. I just want to shout out everybody on the panel. This really is a highlight of my week, and I love just our chats that we have on Instagram and our private chats, and it's just like a family thing for me. And then it's a bonus to have, you know, the extended family, our chat every day, just fucking cracking me up, always there cracking me up. So shout out to the chat and the community. You know where to find me on Instagram, Spartan Growing, and shout out Mint and Co, my boys at work.
Yeah, shout out to their page too. Holy crap. Whew. All right, Kate, you're next.
You can find me on Instagram at the Can of Kate, and I just want to say thank you to Abolish for making my little mini episode this week, and for all the shit that you did to get us up on Twitch. That's like super cool that that's a thing now. And also like all the new people in chat today. That's awesome to like see how it's growing, and like obviously thank you to Seekins and Skillbo for starting all this. I love this.
Thanks. Lost Leaf, you're up, friend. Let me unmute you because I muted you earlier.
You're good. You're good. Shout out to you guys for bringing me on the panel. It's always good to hop on stuff like this. I love just spreading knowledge when it comes to the community. I've learned so much from all the people around me and all the people in the community. So I love giving back whenever I learn cool stuff. And yeah, shout out to you guys.
Thanks for coming on, man. You really dropped a bunch of knowledge on us in a short amount of time. Very efficient use of your time.
I have a lot of shit to Google now as soon as we get off of here, as far as like breadcrumbs and stuff, man. Appreciate you.
All right, Skillbo.
Skillbo1 on Instagram, Skillbo17 on here. I'm a Cannabuzz, everything else. I just want to tell everybody to be safe. And you only have a few more days to pick up those stoner gifts for stoner friends, man. Today I picked up a pipe and a grinder for 2 different people. So don't forget yours. Time is running out. Love y'all.
Thanks, man. I wanted to say thank you to all the new Growskis. We had a new people in chat, like Kate said, new subscribers. Thanks again to Lost Leaf for popping in and dropping a bunch of knowledge on us. Thanks to Kyle for the crazy stories. Please like and subscribe. You never know what will happen here on Sunday. Sometimes it's Taco Bell and sometimes it's not. Have a good week. We'll be here.